When I first moved to Australia, I expected the big things to stand out. The beaches, the weather, the buildings, the nature, and of course, these did all stand out as well. But looking back, some of the biggest changes in my life came from smaller things, small habits, small ways of thinking, things that didn't even seem important at first, or I didn't even notice at first. But these things slowly changed how I spent my time, how I treated myself, and honestly, how happy I felt. So today, I want to share 5 Australian habits that made me happier and my life better while living there. But I have to be honest, they are definitely much easier to do in Australia. If you're new here, hi, I'm Helen. I lived in Australia for almost 7 years and I have moved back home to Estonia. Now I share the stories of moving back, living abroad, and just travel stories in between. So let's get into it. Habit number 1, waking up early. Who knew that it could be good? But one thing I noticed quite quickly in Australia is that people seem to start their day early in the morning. People are out and about already at 6 a.m., working out, walking, swimming. The coffee shops are busy. People are walking their dogs. People are exercising. People are already outside enjoying the weather or the day while the rest of the world seems to be asleep still. And at first, I didn't really understand it. Why would anyone want to wake up so early? Because I have never been someone who naturally jumps out of bed excited for the morning. I like my sleep. But after a while, I started waking up early as well because the mornings in Australia felt different. Being able to start the day with a beautiful sunrise, walk at the beach or park, grabbing a coffee from your favorite coffee shop, because they also open so early, and just waking up with the sunrise and nature basically. And it wasn't like a forced habit that you have to do, but something that I genuinely wanted to do. And that truly made me happier, much calmer, made me enjoy the moment and not rush so much in the mornings before work. It wasn't about being more productive or doing more before the work or getting your exercise in. It was time to actually enjoy, actually be present. And waking up earlier gave me something that I didn't even know I needed, like a slower start, a little bit of peace before the rush, before the work. And honestly, it truly changed my entire mood before the day. I was so much calmer, so much happier if I started my days earlier. If I started it with no rush and just going for a walk, waking up with the sunrise, and then starting my day. But unfortunately, this habit is not that easy to continue back in Estonia. When in wintertime, the sun rises at 9 a.m. basically, and it can be minus 10 or 20 outside. You just want to stay in bed under the blanket, not wake up early. And this one is one of the things that I really truly miss. I really enjoyed that part of my routine, like that part of my mornings, to wake up early, to watch the sunrise, and yeah, really miss that. Habit number 2, smiling and making small talk with strangers. This one might sound a bit small, but it had a bigger impact on me than I expected. In Australia, people are generally very friendly. You go for a walk and someone smiles at you. You stand in a line for coffee and someone starts to chat with you. You sit next to someone at the park and they might say hello. And at first, coming from a different culture, it wasn't what I was used to. And I was definitely awkward at first. But over time, I started doing it more and more as well. I started smiling more. I started saying good morning to everyone. I started having small conversations at grocery stores or cafes or basically anywhere. And what I realized is that these tiny interactions make the world feel less lonely, less sad. Not every conversation had to be deep. Not every connection had to become a friendship. Sometimes it's just nice to be reminded that small act of kindness, small conversation, or a nice comment or a kind word can change someone's whole day. Or someone simply asking, how has your day been? How your day is going? Or having a quick chat while waiting for your coffee. These moments might look small and might be small, but they might have a big impact. I've had random chats with strangers waiting for a bus. I still remember a conversation with an elderly person who was just asking for a direction, but we ended up chatting for quite some time. And I remember it because it had an impact. And I think we've become so used to looking at our phones, wearing headphones, and staying in our own little bubbles that we've forgotten how nice, simple human connection can be and how much they can mean. And those little conversations, small chats, comments from strangers made me smile more often and think about life more often and just my days happier. Habit number 3, the no worries lifestyle. Now, I know, no worries is one of the most famous Australian phrases, but after living there, I realized it's not just something people actually say as well. It's actually also a mindset. People genuinely seem to worry less. Not about everything, of course, but about a lot of things that many of us spend far too much time thinking about. People don't seem to worry as much about what other people might think. They don't worry as much about looking perfect all the time or what they wear. They don't worry so much about keeping up with everyone else. They don't seem to spend every minute comparing themselves to their neighbors, their coworkers, or someone on social media. And honestly, I found that very refreshing. We sometimes worry too much about whether people like us. We worry about saying the wrong thing. We worry about looking successful enough. We worry about whether we're doing enough. We worry about so many small things. And most of the time, nobody's thinking about us nearly as much as we think they are. And I feel like in Australia, it is not so much a thing. So there I learned to let go as well. I tried to worry less what other people might think of me. I became more confident because of it. So it really was like a little bit of no worries lifestyle, or at least definitely less worries. So no worries. I think we should do that more. Habit number 4, spending time outdoors regularly. Australia is a country that spends a lot of time outside. People walk, people swim, people hike, people go to the beach, people have barbecues, people sit in parks, people find reasons to be outdoors. Well, actually, no. You don't really need a reason to go out there. You just want to be more outdoors there. And I realized that being outside doesn't always have to be about exercise or getting your steps in. It doesn't always have to be about reaching a destination. It doesn't have to be another task on the to-do list. Sometimes you can just sit. Sometimes you can walk slowly. Sometimes you can watch the ocean. Sometimes you can sit on a bench and drink your coffee. Sometimes you can simply read a book at the beach. And I think that's what I learned, that for Australians, being outdoors isn't only about being active. It's about slowing down. It's about giving your mind a break. It's about enjoying the moment. It's about enjoying the time with your friends and family. And it's about remembering that life is happening right now, not just when you're finished your work, not just when you're completed your to-do list. Everything comes before that, in a way. And life doesn't always have to be rushed. It should be more enjoyed. And Australians do that very well. Habit number 5, the work to live, not live to work mindset. One thing people often say about Australia is that the lifestyle feels different. And that is absolutely true. It's not that people don't work hard. They do. Absolutely, they do. But work doesn't feel like it takes over everything. There's a stronger sense that life comes first. People finish work and actually go live their life. They go to the beach, they meet with their friends, they have dinners with their friends, they go outside, they switch off. And I realized how easily work can become the center of everything if you're not careful. Before, I used to carry work in my head all the time. Even when I went home from work, I was thinking about work. And my mind couldn't rest because of it. And I still did that a lot when I was in Australia. But slowly I learned to not take work life so seriously. And it doesn't mean that I didn't work hard. I did. But I was separating work life from life. But I think people also seemed happier with their work in Australia. Like, people enjoyed what they were doing. Retail workers smiling and always being kind. Baristas chatting with you while they were making you coffee. And what I felt while I was working in Australia is that oftentimes your coworkers your boss treat you as a friend, part of a family, not just a worker. Not in every place, of course. There are exceptions and it can be very different. But if I compare work environment to my country, it is definitely different. It feels different. And I feel like in Australia, it's that work is part of your life, not your whole life. At least that's my experience, but let me know what you think about that as well. And yeah, these were the habits that truly made me happier in Australia. Small habits that did have a big impact. Unfortunately, these habits are not that easy to bring back to Europe because life is very different. The culture is very different. The weather is very different. But I try to do my best to at least try to keep some of those habits. So if you've lived in Australia or if another country has changed the way you think or changed some of your habits, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!